Howdy, y'all. It's Julian. And today I'm going to tell you about the Hebrew alphabet. We're going to go over the first 7 letters. It's important that you understand a thing or two about the Hebrew alphabet, because the whole truth of the nature of our existence and what we're doing here and what our purpose is and how to be fulfilled and how to totally circumvent having a bad life. It's all in Hebrew. So you might have heard that Jesus is the Word, right? This is the Gospel of John. In the beginning there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And this refers to Jesus. Jesus is called all kinds of stuff, right? He calls himself the bread of life, the bread, the true bread, which God gave the Israelites from heaven when they were in the desert. He is the truth, the way, and the life. But most importantly, the Word. So it is the Word which informs us of the truth. Truth about what? About everything. Sounds crazy. But the world's really that simple. It's not complex. The way, the only good way to live, the only right way to live, the way to live in accordance with the purpose we were made for, and the life. So anyway, you might know the story of Saul. He became Paul, but he was first Saul, and he was on his way to around Damascus to persecute Christians, to kill them. And then he was blinded by a light, and he heard a voice speaking to him in the Hebrew language, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me so?" And he said, "Who is it?" And the voice says, "It is me, Jesus Christ, whom you have persecuted." Jesus spoke to Saul in the Hebrew language. Okay? Saul did not know Jesus, did not understand him, hated him, and wanted his followers dead until he heard Jesus speak to him in Hebrew. So that's why I said the truth is in Hebrew. Jesus said, "You search the scriptures thinking that they will give you eternal life, but I am they whom they testify of." He whom they testify of? Jesus is all throughout the Old Testament in a number of different ways. And if you know the Hebrew alphabet, you don't even have to be able to read Hebrew words. If you know the Hebrew alphabet, you can translate it yourself, letter by letter, and find the truth. Right? Jesus was, the Word and the truth was persecuted and conspired against and killed. The Jews agitated for the crucifixion of Jesus, right? They wanted him dead, but they would not kill him themselves because it would make them hypocrites. So they agitated for the Roman Pontius to crucify him. This is all a metaphor for a number of things, really. But namely, the obfuscation of the truth, how it has been concealed through translations. So we're going to start in the mother tongue. Alef means strength, or it means God, or ox, which the original Hebrew letter is a depiction of an ox's head. It's the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, or Aleph bet. It's funny, huh? The English language traces its roots to Hebrew. God's strength is not a singular thing. This is highlighted in the New Testament. Jesus says that where 3 or more of us are gathered in his name, he is there. And Paul explains that we are the individual members of the body of Jesus Christ. Member for member, we are him. The gospel is about us, about you and me and anybody who abides in the precepts of our Father. Because whomever follows the commands of God receives his Spirit. It's the same Spirit which God breathed into the face of Adam, the breath of life, making him a living soul. Well, Adam and Eve sinned, and everyone thereafter who was born dead in sin, totally attached to the world. Impulsive, whimsical, loving pleasure. Yet through self-denial, through denying these impulses, this pleasure, by denying our flesh and living self-sacrificially for other people, it opens a door that is that same breath, the breath of God. He blows into our faces the breath of life, making us living souls. That is the resurrection. We, as Jesus Christ, member for member, can only glorify him through our unification, through our coming together as the diverse members of his body unifying. That is Jesus Christ glorified. And how is he glorified? He's glorified in his weakest members. We come together for the same selfless cause of uplifting the weakest parts of our body, acting as one body, us, the diverse individual members of the body, acting as one body toward a single cause to heal our weakest members. And that's Jesus Christ. And that's how we are Jesus Christ. And that is the meaning of Alef, is the strength in unity. That is the power of God, is our unification, our united effort to make the world a better place. God said, Jesus said, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. John said, all things were made through him and for him. If we are him, then it was a group, the first group of God's children that he had bound his soul to. They are the individual members, or were, or are, the individual members of the body of Jesus Christ, through whom all things were created. If you think it's a wonder that you and I have DNA in common with every organic thing, it's because Jesus Christ was the first thing, and all things were made through him. I'm going to read to you from Psalm 119. This is the English Standard Version. And that matters because it's really important to use every opportunity to say that every translation sucks and they're all deceiving you. Because, come on, cat. Because they translate the majority of it faithfully to English, and then certain words they don't translate to English at all. They translate to Latin. And in some Bibles it's even worse, and they just totally just write whatever they want. So let me clarify this. Jesus being the Word that was persecuted, that was crucified, He is the Hebrew language. That's why he is in the Old Testament. That's why he spoke to Saul in Hebrew. And so every translation, it's not that it's not possible to translate it from Hebrew, it's that it's just not done. But I will show you how to do it yourself as you read it. Because there are only certain words that need to be clarified. Pretty much anything that is mystical and confuses you from, let's say, the New Testament, a word like spirit, or even the name Jesus. If you look at it in Greek, and then translate it yourself, well, if you actually translate these words to English, translate pneuma, meaning breath, to English, which is breath, instead of to Latin, which is spirit, then it is more apparently consistent with the Old Testament. If you, instead of translating the Greek Jesus to Jesus, and instead you go back to the original form of Yeshua and you translate it to English from there, and you come up with Joshua, then you see the parallels between our Jesus Christ and Joshua the son of Nun, who led the Israelites across the Jordan River into the Promised Land. So anyway, a lot is hidden from you in plain sight. Just translate a few things yourself. Anything that doesn't make sense to you, just double check it. People will tell you that it's not easy to do, and they're lying to you, or they just don't know, or they may have made an assumption, in which case they're just wrong. So Psalm 119. I said all that to say, I don't know, let's see what it says. All right, I'm being a doubting Thomas, and I haven't even read it. Alef. That's the subject of today's video. You remember? Alef, first letter, means strength, means God. Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. You understand? Who is blessed? Is it the ones who keep straying from the narrow path? Is it the ones who are like, they're real nice people? Now let us be clear. Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. If you're not walking in his law, you're breaking his law. So how could you be blessed? We're saying this not to highlight that, we're sinners. Although I guess it's essentially what I'm doing, what we want to. We want to highlight, I guess that is the point. No, let us highlight that we're sinners. And let us aspire to be blameless. Someone might tell you every Sunday that it is not possible to be blameless, that all we could do is try really hard. We could try really hard, but we always fall short. Well, indeed, along the way, we're going to often fall short. But I'm certain that it is possible to stop falling short and to become blameless, because this is Psalm 19. Blessed are those whose way is blameless, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who keep his testimonies, who seek him with their whole heart. So the Lord has already testified of all things in this and here. He tells you exactly what happens if you abide in him, and he tells you exactly what happens if you do not. You have to seek him with your whole heart, right? Blessed is he who does. What does it mean? But to live for him, to glorify him by keeping his commandments, being very serious, being strengthened by his commandments. Alef, strength, blessing. Blessed, you will be blessed with the strength of the Lord. Who also do no wrong. So, who seek him with their whole heart, who also do no wrong, but walk in his ways. Do no wrong. It's hard. Who you telling? I know it's hard. You know, the Old Testament tells the same story as the New Testament. Slavery in Egypt was not about individuals being physically enslaved in the land of Egypt. It's well known that there is no record, and no historical record of that. This is a literary device. The slavery in Egypt is slavery to the flesh, our captivity in our flesh. And Moses frees the Israelites. Not you. Go lay down. Go lay down. And Moses frees the Israelites. He leads them out of captivity in Egypt into a desert. Moses leads God's people out of slavery and into the desert. And they complain and they say, but I'd have rather stayed in Egypt. Where is this Moses? Where is the promised land? I'm so hungry. They tempted the Lord. And Moses said, wait, don't do that. the Lord will give you bread from heaven. And they ate manna in the desert for 40 years. He led them to the River Jordan, and he couldn't go in. And then Joshua was his successor who brought them in. Water is a symbol of flesh, by the way. This whole story is a symbol of transcending the flesh and denying the flesh. And going into the presence of God, the kingdom of heaven, the promised land. You have commanded your precepts to be kept diligently. It would be better translated as absolutely. Oh, that my ways may be steadfast in keeping your statutes. Then I shall not be put to shame, having my eyes fixed on all your commandments. You see, I got a problem with this translation. I translated this from the Hebrew myself earlier. The only reason I'm not reading that to you is just because it's on the phone. And whenever I tab away from the camera, it stops the recording. What it really says is that, oh, that I may be steadfast in keeping your statutes, then I will not be ashamed to look into all of your commandments. Because what a shameful thing to look at God's commands and know that you have broken his law and that you do every day and that you just can't stop. What are you supposed to do? What do? I can't stop doing it. You turn away, and then you get weak. You fall short. What, you really think you're supposed to go to confession every day for the rest of your life? No, you're supposed to turn away. And, for more than just the obvious things like lust and greed. Greed is not always a material thing. Well, I suppose that's what sloth is. You got to take all these very seriously. And that's what this Alef is about in Psalm 119. It's about taking it seriously and being strengthened by the Lord. I will praise you with an upright heart when I learn your righteous rules. So learn the rules. I will keep your statutes. Do not utterly forsake me. If you keep the Lord's commands, you turn away from your body, from every selfish impulse, and you have patience and love, and you bear the Lord's grace unto everyone that you meet, he will strengthen you. It creates a door. And God comes in to you. And through you, he creates good things in this world. Alef. Strength in unity. To strengthen the united members of the body of Joshua. The members of God nailed to the cross, united as one body to create good things out of love for one another.